Welcome to America, everyone. Soberoni of G&D Reviews here with a servant spotlight for FGO's sexiest nurse and best big boss cosplayer, Florence Nightingale. We'll be examining her stats and skills, as well as going over pointers on how to utilize her effectively, and an overall grade comparing her to how she stacks up to the other 5-star servants. I also have a spotlight up for the other 4-star America servants, Rama and Helena. Do check those out right after this, but for now, on to Nightingale's stats. Nightingale has the highest max HP of all Berserkers with 15,221, which also puts her in the top 10 highest HP servants in the game. Her max attack of 10,184, on the other hand, is the lowest among all 5-star Berserkers, and even some 4-star Berserkers like Herc and Lancelot. Her attack is also the second lowest among all 5 stars overall, although her 1.1 times Berserker class damage modifier does help her a bit with offsetting that. Taking a look at her skills, her first skill is Nurse of Steel rank A, which restores between 2,000 to 4,000 HP to an ally, depending on level. Her second skill is Human Body Comprehension rank A, which increases Nightingale's damage against humanoid targets for 3 turns between 30 to 50%, depending on level, and increases her defense against humanoid targets for 3 turns between 15 to 25%, also depending on level. And finally, her last skill is Angel's Outcry rank X, which increases the Buster card effectiveness of an ally for 3 turns between 30 to 50% depending on level. Her only passive is Madness Enhancement rank X, which increases Buster card effectiveness by 12%. Taking a look at her deck and Noble Phantasm, Nightingale has a light arts deck with Quick, Arts, Buster, and an Arts Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm is Nightingale Pledge, which decreases the Noble Phantasm strength of all enemies for 1 turn between 50 to 100% depending on overcharge, removes all debuffs from allies, and restores the HP of all allies between 3,000 to 5,000 depending on level. This can be upgraded through an interlude, which will also add the effect of decreasing all enemies attack by 50% for 1 turn. Taking a closer look at her deck, we see that her Quick card hits 6 times, her Arts card hits twice, her Buster card hits once, and her extra attack hits 5 times. She has a Noble Phantasm gain rate of 0.77% and a star rate of 5%. And this translates into above average Noble Phantasm gain and star generating just due to the high hit counts on her Quick and extra attacks. If there's a common theme among the first batch of servants from the America Singularity, it's that they all bring something new to their class. And Nightingale is probably the most extreme example of that. She is a full-fledged support Berserker. And if you're wondering how a glass cannon can function well as a full-on support, join the club, because Nightingale certainly doesn't make a good case for the concept. If you separate her skills from the fact that she is a Berserker, they're actually very strong. Nurse of Steel is the strongest single target heal in the game with 4,000 HP recovery, beating out even Nero Bride's heal, and it's only on a 5-turn cooldown at max rank, although it doesn't offer any bonus effects like most targetable heals do. Angel's Outcry is Nightingale's other support skill and by far the best skill in her kit. It's a targetable mana burst that lasts 3 turns instead of 1 and is absolutely broken on any Buster servant, let alone Berserkers like Herc or Kentucky. If not for a certain OP caster, this would qualify as possibly the best offensive support buff in the game. Nightingale also has a skill that can provide her some much needed defense and offense in Human Body Comprehension, effectively reducing damage done to her by 1/4 from humanoid targets. And that's nothing to laugh at. Basically, every servant in the game falls under the category of humanoid, as do many enemies. If you're fighting anything that even vaguely looks human-like, Nightingale is going to take less damage from them and deal more damage while this skill is active. I do recommend leveling Angel's Outcry first just because it's one of the best skills in the game, followed by Nurse of Steel because the heal is so strong, and then finally Human Body Comprehension, since you're going to want to prioritize Nightingale's support skills over her own personal buffs. Nightingale's Noble Phantasm is purely support and can seriously lower the attack and Noble Phantasm strength of the entire enemy party, but even more importantly, it cleanses all debuffs and heals your party, much like Media Lily's Noble Phantasm. So she has pretty great skills and a really good Noble Phantasm for a support unit. What's the problem? The problem that invalidates all of that is that Nightingale is a Berserker. Regardless of how high her HP is and the nice defense buff that she gives herself, she just can't stand up to more than a few hits. You won't have any opportunity to make long-term use of her skills because she's going to die within a few turns usually once she's out on the field. And against anyone that crits often, she's just going to melt as quickly as any other Berserker. And despite being a Berserker, she's not going to hit as hard, primarily due to the lack of Buster cards and an offensive Noble Phantasm, so you can't do the same thing you do with Nero Bride and build a team around her while she uses her own skills on herself. It just won't work. Nightingale is very contradictory. You can pair her with a support to help keep her alive, but that's usually more trouble than it's worth because now you're using a support to support your support. Also, while her skills are on cooldown, she's essentially a sitting duck. She can do a little bit of damage, especially with her second skill active, but nothing major or even close to approaching the level of other 5-star Berserkers. The bottom line is that Nightingale is a glass cannon that can't fire. So her best use is, fittingly enough, as a switch-in, as a nurse you keep in your back row that'll come out to heal your front line and buff them before they unleash their finishing blow. Nightingale's Buster buff is her defining trait, so as such you'll want to pair her with heavy-hitting Buster servants like Rama, Gil, Carmilla, Karna, Brynhilda, and pretty much any Berserker with a Buster Noble Phantasm. When using her in your front line, I highly suggest bringing along a strong defensive unit, someone like Media Lily, Mosh, George, Leonidas, Tamamo, or Jean, since you're going to want to keep Nightingale alive as long as possible. But the best place for Nightingale is in your back row, waiting for a switch-in to perform a clutch heal or a Buster buff. Her Bondcraft essence is Unbending Persistence, which increases Buster card effectiveness of all allies by 10% and HP recovery amount by 20%. This is perfect for her since it synergizes with all of her support abilities and her Noble Phantasm. I highly recommend using this on her above anything else if you can get it. Otherwise, go with Maiden Halloween or Street Choco Maid, which will give her more survivability if you choose to use her heal on herself. Prisma Cosmos or Kaleidoscope can also help her with getting her Noble Phantasm off much easier, which is helpful if you need a massive party heal or want to cut down the enemy's attack. And finally, 2030 is great on her as it is on all supports because it lets her support the team with star generating, and Buster crit servants are a thing. My overall opinion on Nightingale is that she has some amazing skills, and one of the best buffs in the game with Angel's Outcry. She can be utilized very well as a switch-in, and if she were a caster, she would be top tier. But unfortunately, being a Berserker nearly erases all her upsides by making her both too fragile to provide continuous support, and too weak to be called a 5-star Berserker. So she gets a C+ from me. It isn't like Berserker supports can't be good. We have precedent for that in JP with the Eldorado Berserker, but they need to prioritize attack first and support second, rather than the other way around. And even Nightingale herself can work very well provided you can get her with the right kind of support and get a little bit lucky. But that's very inconsistent, and while her Buster buff is broken, you often won't be able to get it off more than once. And that's my review on Nightingale. I have a feeling it'll be an unpopular one, but if you disagree with me, let me know why in the comments below. I love discussing the game with you guys. And for those of you rolling for Nightingale, including Sarcasm and John, good luck. Also, please check out the Helena and Rama spotlights, linked both on screen right now and in the description, and don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed the video. Join the party over on Discord, chill with us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter. And I'll see you all in the next spotlight. So we're only out. Later.